Welcome! Today we are going to be making some postpartum freezer meals. I'm super excited to share this with you because this is like your lifesaver in those weeks and months after having a baby. I know because I've been there myself many times, and I'll tell you, having these things done ahead of time will be something you thank yourself for again and again and again. Let's get started. We're gonna start with a few chicken meals. Whenever you're making a lot of meals at once, one of the fastest ways to do it is to work with one protein at a time, and of course to make multiples of each recipe. So I'm actually gonna show you two different chicken recipes today, but the faster thing would be to double each of these recipes so that you end up with 4 meals instead of 2. We're gonna be making a teriyaki chicken and a baked Italian chicken. The great thing about both of these recipes is that they go in the slow cooker, so it makes it super easy to get dinner done. Another thing that's gonna save you a lot of time is to gather all of your ingredients before you start assembling, and even to do your prep the day before. So we did get our vegetables prepped yesterday. The other great thing about prepping the day before is that if there's anything that needs to cool, and we have a recipe coming up after this where one of the ingredients did need to cool, then it can sit in your fridge overnight and be totally ready to add into your freezer meal. For the baked Italian chicken, we've got our boneless, skinless chicken thighs in the bag already. I went ahead for both of these bags of chicken and took some kitchen scissors and just went through them, made sure that there wasn't any bone or gristle or anything like that before I got them into the freezer bag. Then we're gonna add some Italian seasoning, brown sugar, sliced mushrooms, diced zucchini, diced onion, some pasta sauce, or if you're in the Freezer Meals 101 club, then you can use the red sauce, which does taste better. And then you're going to squish all these ingredients together right there in the bag. You're gonna get out as much air as you can, because when you're freezer cooking, air can cause your freezer burn. Then you're gonna seal this and lay it flat in your freezer. On the day you go to make this, you thaw it, dump it into a slow cooker, cook it on low for 4 to 6 hours. You can serve this over pasta or with rice and a side salad if you want to add even more vegetables to this. You can also cook it in your oven for 50 minutes at 375 if you prefer. Now, the teriyaki chicken is even easier than that, believe it or not. We've got our boneless, skinless chicken thighs already in the bag, or you could use chicken breasts. Then you're gonna add in some honey that's been melted, or just some liquid honey, some soy sauce, fresh ginger. We like to use our ginger from the squeezy tube, and some minced garlic, and we use our garlic from a jar, so it's already minced for us. That's it. And we squish all of those ingredients together, get out the excess air, seal it, freeze it. When you go to make this, again, this is a slow cooker meal, so you thaw it or even just get it thawed enough. Then you're gonna add it into your crock pot, and you can just cook this on low for 4 to 6 hours, or you can bake it in the oven for an hour, whichever one is easiest for you. And then you can shred this, serve it over rice next to some vegetables, and dinner is done. I have to tell you something funny, but first I better backtrack a bit and let you know like who I am and how this video came about today. So I'm Charlotte, I'm from Freezer Meals 101. In case you haven't watched any of our videos before, I am doing this video today to make some postpartum meals for my friend Mandy. She just had her 3rd baby. She's got 2 girls and now they just had a little boy. Really happy for them. And I just know, being a mom of many myself, how much it helps to have meals made ahead and in the freezer. Now, if you're expecting yourself, it's a great time to do this now before the baby comes, so that even though I know you're already tired, you at least don't have a baby to look after right now or to get up in the night with right now, although I know you're hardly sleeping as it is. but trust me, it's so much easier to get these meals done now. It's especially nice to have sort of a fully stocked freezer, like not just dinners, but also grab and go snacks and breakfasts, lunches, all of it. And if you've got other kids as well, it's even more necessary to have that done ahead. So I'm hoping that with today's video, I can help show you how easy this can be to do. Now, it can be overwhelming if you do it all at once, but there are ways to make it way less overwhelming. One of those ways is to ask for help. If you've got friends or family in the area or neighbors, you can ask if they would help you get your freezer stocked and exchange their time instead of giving you a baby gift. Or you can request a baby shower where everybody makes freezer meals at the shower, or where they bring freezer meals as gifts. That's a great way to stock your freezer. Now, if you don't have the option of getting help, and lots of people don't, then one of the ways that you can make it more manageable is to break it up into sessions. So one way to do that is that if you find a great sale on chicken, you can head into the Freezer Meals 101 Club, click the chicken button, all the chicken recipes populate. You can then make a meal plan of just chicken recipes, print off your shopping list at the click of a button. It'll also give you your prep list, so you'll know what vegetables to prep ahead, or if any of that chicken needs to be cooked or cubed or in any way prepped before you assemble the meals. Then you can assemble all your chicken meals one afternoon, or even actually raw chicken especially, and we have a filter in there for raw chicken as well, is so fast to assemble those meals. I mean, you saw how fast it was for me to do these two. If you were to have doubled those and you'd now have 4, imagine if you laid out all your bags of chicken and you did 10 at a time, 5 different recipes, 2 each, and then suddenly you've got 10 dinners that you don't have to think about for when the baby comes. And then the next week, there's a sale on ground beef. You do the exact same. And 4 weeks from now, you've got a freezer stocked with 4 different kinds of proteins that you were able to get on massive discount. So you're able to have a ton of dinners. And then you can spend like a Saturday afternoon or one weekday or whatever it is doing some baking. I'm gonna pop a video right up here where I fill my freezer with different snacks, things that I baked, things like waffles and muffins, and all of those things are great to make ahead and have now. The other thing is, if you've got little ones, you might want to do snacks up ahead now so that when they're hungry and you're nursing or feeding a baby, you don't have to say no. You can go quickly grab them something from the freezer, get them settled with that while you tend to feeding the baby. So there are lots of ways to make it more manageable than filling your entire freezer all in a 2-day span. Although, if you've seen our videos before, then you might know that my neighbor Christy and I get together once every 3 months and we do exactly that. We stock our freezers full. Over 100 meals. Our record is 156 meals. We've also done 153, 142, 130, like huge numbers. Those are all dinners because it is a lot faster and easier to assemble the dinners than it is to do things that you have to bake or cook ahead, like the snacks, lunches, and breakfasts. But I don't expect that when you are expecting, you want to stand on your feet for 2 full days and assemble meals. Plus, add to that the shopping and the prep the day before. That is way too much. I really recommend for postpartum freezer meals specifically that you break it into manageable chunks or you ask for help. Later, I'm going to be sharing with you even more tips, and I'm going to be sharing some ideas of the meals that I think are the very best for this particular situation. But I just have to tell you this funny story before we get to the next meals. So Christy, the neighbor that makes the meals with me normally, she is our labels expert. She helped come up with the section in the Freezer Meals 101 Club where we have the printable labels, and she keeps track of all of that. She makes it it so that you can print them by cooking method, and it's like super user friendly. It's fantastic, but she also has always done the labels for her and I for when we do freezer meals together. And even I'm really spoiled because she does live just 2 doors that way. Sometimes if I'm doing things like snacks and breakfasts for myself on my own, if I need cooking instructions on them, then I just text her and she'll send me over some labels that are already printed up, and it's like magic. So even after all of these years of doing freezer meals, like almost 2 decades, I have never printed a label, ever. Until today, Christy's on vacation, and I decided, oh, you know, I'm doing these meals for Mandy. I'll just print the labels myself. I've got access to the Freezer Meals 101 Club. It's super easy. And you know what? It really, really was. It was really easy to go in there and pick the recipes I needed labels for, create the PDF. I was like, oh, this is great. And then I went to click print, and it printed. It was beautiful. And I thought, no wonder people love this. But I had put the labels in wrong. So as you'll see, I printed them on the back of the labels. And then when I went to print them on the other side, I had run out of ink. So a few of these meals you'll see have me like holding the label on because they are not on a sticker, they are on the back of the sheet. So oops, and hilarious that it's coming from me who invented the club and can't even use it. So I'm going to figure out for next time what way you put the label paper in the printer, and I'll learn how to do this because at the very least I should know how to do this, right? Anyway, I'm gonna tape these labels onto the bag because done is better than perfect, and Mandy's not gonna complain because she's getting meals and she'll have the cooking instructions and the date, so they'll still be handy. They just won't be quite as pretty. The next thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna make our meals with ground beef. Again, it's easier to make multiple recipes with the same protein. Yesterday, I went ahead and prepped the beef. Now, if I'm making a lot of ground beef at one time and browning it, then I actually do it on cookie sheets in the oven, on foil-lined cookie sheets in the oven, because I can bake a lot at one time that way. But this time, because we're only doing 2 recipes, I just fried it up in a skillet. It was really quick and easy to get that done. And then the ground beef has been sitting in the fridge overnight to cool. And we're gonna add it into our freezer bags and get these meals done. Again, it would be faster for you if you did 2 of each of these recipes, but they're super family friendly, and even having 1 of each is gonna be fantastic for Mandy's family. The beefy rice casserole is another slow cooker recipe, which is great for those really busy days as a mom. So we're going to put our browned and cooled ground beef into our freezer bag, and then we're gonna add some diced tomatoes, chopped onion, chopped green pepper, salt, and chili powder. We're gonna squish that all together to combine it and seal that bag, getting the air out. In a quart size, that's a medium-sized freezer bag, we're going to put we're gonna add some rice and seal that. And we're gonna staple those bags together above the seam. That way, Mandy or you will have everything needed on the day of cooking. When you go to make this one, you just take the staples out carefully, and you're gonna dump the contents of both of the bags into your slow cooker. You're gonna add 1 cup of water, stir it, and cook this one on low for 4 to 5 hours, or on high for 2 to 3 hours, and your dinner is done. This next one that we're making couldn't be easier. This is just homemade hamburger helper. Now I've got this bag of hamburger helper mix that I had made up another time. I'm gonna pop a video right up there where we made the mix. We also did like a KFC seasoning mix and just different homemade seasoning blends that are nice to have on hand. Now you've made your hamburger helper mix. You're gonna add it to your brown and cooled hamburger in your bag. You do 1/2 cup per recipe. And then we're gonna add some water Now, there are variations that you can do of this. You can do one that's like a chili variation, and we do have those listed in our recipe. You can find the recipes in the description down below if you're looking for them. And you can do one where you do like a stroganoff, so we could add some of the sliced mushrooms that we have left over, and we could serve this with egg noodles. In that case, we can do a chili variation where you're gonna add in some diced tomatoes. You could even do some diced corn and then some chili powder. So there's different variations that you can do with just this very simple seasoning mix. But for this, we're gonna keep it plain and simple. We're just gonna add the water and the seasoning mix and get it all combined. Now, another thing that you could do up ahead, and I would recommend that you do this, normally I would do this, is you can cook your pasta up right now. You wanna undercook it slightly. Anytime you're doing any pasta dish for the freezer, you wanna undercook your pasta, because when you reheat it, it's gonna continue to cook. And if you've cooked it all the way to al dente, then you're gonna end up with mushy pasta, and we don't want any mushy meals. Say no to mushy meals. So we're gonna undercook the pasta, drain it, cool it, add it into your freezer bag. Just get everything all combined, and then you have the full meal deal, and it's totally ready to go. In this case, I am not cooking the pasta, which kind of seems crazy because I am trying to make things as easy as I can for Mandy. However, I am going to be sending along some gluten-free noodles that I got for her, and that is the reason that I am not cooking the pasta today, because gluten-free pasta just does not cook up the same way, does not hold together in the freezer the same way that regular pasta does. So we always recommend, when it comes to gluten-free pasta, that you just cook it up on the day of and add it into the meal then. I know it's an extra step for her, and I don't love that, because she's gonna have to cook up the pasta and add it to the skillet that she's reheating her hamburger in, but it just is what it is. One of the things that I always ask if I'm gifting someone meals is if they have any dietary restrictions or allergies, and in this case, their family mostly eats gluten-free. So I am making all of these gluten-free today. The great thing about this homemade hamburger helper mixture is that I made it myself. I know exactly what's in it, and there is no trace of any gluten anywhere. So this is safe to give to their family. So I'm gonna grab some water for this, and then we can get this one done and dusted. The next thing that we're gonna make is French toast sticks using some gluten-free bread. Because she's got 2 other kids, and I know how busy mornings can be, really all day is busy when you've got little ones, but I thought that French toast sticks would be fun for the kids, but also something that would make her life a little bit easier. So we're gonna quickly whip these up. It should take no time at all, and I know that they'll be really nice for her to have. Now, the key when you're making anything ahead for freezing, like French toast sticks, pancakes, waffles, anything like that, where you're gonna be taking them out and heating them individually, like if you're popping them in your toaster oven or whatever, is once they're cooked, you want to lay them flat in a single layer on a baking sheet and get them into the freezer like that. Because if you try to put them in a freezer bag before you get them fully frozen, they will stick together and you won't be able to take them out one at a time. So that is really key here. That's really the only thing you need to know. Other than that, use whatever French toast recipe you like the best. French toast freezes beautifully. French toast sticks freeze beautifully. It's just that cutting them into sticks is a little bit more fun for kids, and that's why we're doing the sticks today. So I'm going to start with slicing the bread into sticks. There's no real method to this. Then we're going to mix some eggs, milk, vanilla, and cinnamon. I always put orange zest in my French toast, but I don't have any oranges today, so we're gonna do this sans orange zest, and I'm sure it'll still be delicious. I whisked my eggs together first, just with a fork. You can use a whisk if you prefer, and then add the milk, vanilla, and cinnamon. Now, when I make French toast for us, like I said, I do like to add the orange zest, but I also like to do it with cinnamon bread. But I couldn't find a gluten-free cinnamon bread. I could find a gluten-free cinnamon raisin bread, but I don't know if their girls like raisins, and I didn't really want to risk them not liking it, so I just went with a plain gluten-free bread. And then you're just going to dip your little sticks, bread sticks, into the egg batter and stick them on your griddle. The nice thing about using an electric griddle for a project like this is you can fit so many on at one time, which is awesome. Pretty much by the time we are done adding one layer of this, it's gonna be time to flip like the first ones over, so this will get done really quickly. Now, if you've already got little ones, then this is a great project to get them to help with, because they can totally mix that egg mixture together. They can dip the bread. Now, I wouldn't recommend that. I mean, the electric griddle is a little bit, I've even burned myself on it, so I wouldn't recommend they do that part, but they can help with other parts of this, and even throwing ingredients into your freezer bags. And then they feel, I mean, they did help, but they also feel included and a part of it, and they know that they're helping get things ready for their little brother or sister, which is really nice. When I was pregnant with my boys, no one made meals for me, and I had never even heard of freezer meals. And actually, when I was pregnant with our second son, we lived really far from any friends or family. And so it wasn't even, I mean, it wouldn't even have been an option. But after one of our adopted daughters was born, a friend brought me a casserole. I still, to this day, remember exactly what it was because it was so helpful. And she also brought some chocolate chip cookies and muffins. And oh my goodness, I appreciated it so much. It meant the world to me because I was overwhelmed, in over my head. You know those feelings, those early days when you're not sleeping and you are just like, someone rescue me from this, from any of it. And so just taking off a little bit of that work, and it also just helped me feel less alone. So it was actually after that that I started making meals for other people when they had babies, because I just knew as a mom how much I had appreciated it and how much it had meant to me. So yeah, it's something that I do from time to time now, and I know how much it's appreciated. The other thing that kind of changed my perspective on that is that for one of our adoptions, we were adopting, our last adoption was to a sibling group from Ethiopia. It was a long time ago now, but when we were bringing them home, two friends came to my house because we were bringing them home 5 months sooner than we had expected. It's a very long story. It involves embezzlement and fraud, not on our part, but the owner of the adoption agency. It's a crazy story. Anyway, we ended up bringing them home 5 months early, and so we had nothing ready. We didn't have beds, we didn't have clothes, we had nothing ready, and we certainly didn't have freezer meals. And so we actually bought a second stand-up freezer, and two friends came, spent an entire day helping me stock that freezer. And oh my goodness, it just made all the difference. It was seriously a lifesaver. Like I don't know what I would have done without those meals. I don't know how I would have fed the 9 of us. Like it's mind-boggling. Even now I look back and think, I don't know how I would have done it. So I'm so thankful for that, and that's why it just makes it really easy for me to do this for others, especially because I'm faster at making freezer meals now because I have so much experience. And I get to teach you how to do it too, which I know can make things easier for you too. So it's really good motivation for me. And this particular friend, this is for Mandy, and she has meant a lot to our family. She's someone really special, and she's so kind that I know that she would do this for others too. So it's just really, really easy for me to do this for her. And actually I'm excited and happy to be able to do something because I can't offer to babysit or anything like that because we've got another little one now, and so we're back in the thick of it again, and I just don't have time. So, you know, between working full-time and parenting and all the things, so this is a way that I can still be home and be doing what I do, but be helping their family, and so that makes me really happy. Okay, I have one tray ready to go in the freezer, and I have run out of egg mixture. So I'm gonna make some more egg mixture and then do the rest of our bread here. We're more than halfway done the loaf, so I won't make quite as much, but I underestimated how much I would need. I don't know if gluten-free bread maybe soaks up more. I don't know, I'm not very well versed in the whole gluten-free bread thing, but you can let me know in the comments if that's true. And you can also let me know what your favorite postpartum freezer meals were, your favorite things to have after your baby arrived that you could just take out quickly and feed yourself or feed your family. Okay, I'm gonna get this second tray in the freezer, I'm gonna get this cleaned up, and then we're gonna move on to our best recipe yet. This next thing that we're gonna be making is my go-to for when anyone has a baby. I have never had complaints, but I have had the request for the recipe every single time. This is my pumpkin muffin recipe. It came from my grandma, passed down to my mom, passed down to me, and so many people have this recipe now. Well, I guess even more because it is in the Freezer Meals 101 Club, so I guess like thousands of people have it now. But friends and family over the years have asked me for this recipe so often. It is definitely the recipe I'm most famous for when it comes to baking. Now, I did say that Mandy and her family are mostly gluten-free, and they are, but they make exceptions. This is one of those times. My pumpkin muffins are a favorite with Mandy, so this is the gluten-free exception. I do understand that these are not gluten-free. I have tried to make these gluten-free and they just don't turn out as well. Maybe I just don't have the secrets for gluten-free baking, but I am fully aware that I am making these for Mandy with full gluten. Now, this recipe makes a lot. I think, I can't remember how many dozen, 4 dozen probably. And I'm not gonna give them all to Mandy because in my house, there would be a revolt if I made pumpkin muffins and my kids didn't get to eat them. So I am gonna make some for them, I'm gonna make some for us. I might even make some mini ones because the mini ones are so much fun. These are fun anyway. I really am convinced that it's the butterscotch chips, right? That's probably why everyone loves them. That and the pumpkin pie seasoning. I don't know how these could get any more popular, honestly, but in mini form, they just might. So we might make those today. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, we're gonna get started with the recipe, and then while we scoop these into the muffin trays, I'm gonna share with you one of the other reasons that I ended up making this video today, and some other ideas for postpartum meals or things to have in the freezer after the baby comes for breakfast, grab and go snacks, things like that, that will just make your life so much easier. Okay, so for these pumpkin muffins, with an electric beater, you're gonna mix together some sugar, eggs, vegetable oil, and pumpkin puree. Sometimes I substitute some applesauce for some of the vegetable oil, and it still seems to taste really good when you do that. So you can go ahead and do that if you're cutting back on your oil. Then I'm gonna add in some flour, baking soda, a little bit of salt, baking powder, and pumpkin pie spice. Or if you don't have pumpkin pie spice available, you can use cinnamon. Once that's all mixed together, you want to mix it into your wet ingredients. I just mix the dry ingredients together on top and then mix them into the wet ingredients. I find that works just fine, and I'm dirtying less bowls that way. And then you're going to stir in your butterscotch chips and get these into your muffin tins. If you're using a regular muffin tin, then you're going to want to grease these or use a cupcake liner. Then you can bake them for 20 to 25 minutes. You want to take them out of the muffin tin and allow them to cool. It's really important that you allow everything to cool before you add it into the freezer bag. Otherwise, you're going to get condensation in there, and that will kind of wreck the texture of the muffins. You can also freeze these in a freezer safe container if you prefer. Whatever container you use, just be mindful of getting as much air out as you can. We've got our delicious pumpkin muffin batter done, so we're gonna get that into muffin tins, and while I do that, I'm gonna give you some other ideas for great things to stock your freezer with for those postpartum weeks and months. So I was planning to make meals for Mandy as soon as I heard that their baby boy had been born. But the reason that I decided to make a video and kind of walk you through some other ideas for postpartum freezer meals is that we have a Freezer Meals 101 Facebook group. And in there, the most common question that I have seen asked in the last, I would say, month or so is about what to stock your freezer with when you are about to have a baby, or what to give a friend who's just had a baby, or anything along those lines, or like, hey, my daughter-in-law is having a baby, what do you suggest that I make for her? So I thought we could just kill two birds with one stone and get these meals made for Mandy, but also give you some examples and ideas for what type of things are nicest to have on hand after you expand your family and you're in those first busy days and weeks. As far as dinners go, it's really nice to have things that are an all-in-one dinner and that can be cooked up in one pot or pan. So examples are things like crock pot meals, instant pot meals, one pot pastas, which I love, and we have a lot of recipes for those, and sheet pan dinners. I love sheet pans as much as I love one pots because you're only dirtying the one pan. Everything is ready all at one time, so you don't have to get your timing right, which is perfect for if you are chasing after a toddler and feeding a baby, or working around a baby's sleep schedule, or working around appointments. So sheet pan meals are perfect for that. Some of our skillet meals are also really handy because on the day of cooking, the entire meal is done in under 10 minutes. And who doesn't have 10 minutes? Well, a busy mom or dad, actually. But 10 minutes is better than 40. So the skillet meals are also really good to have. Other things that are really nice to have in your freezer are things that are individually wrapped or that you can cook up individually. So we've got an entire playlist of recipes for freezer meals for one or two. So if you're just looking for meals for the adults in the house, then that's a great place to start. I will pop that playlist up there. But there's also things like taquitos or burritos that you can wrap individually and take them out one at a time and just cook up. Those are really handy. The other thing is grab and go breakfast, snacks, lunches. So for those, things like energy balls are like, if you've got no time and all you can do is reach in your freezer and grab a couple of energy balls, especially if you're gonna be nursing, then that's a great way to go. Breakfast burritos, breakfast sandwiches, breakfast quesadillas, our scrambled egg bites, anything like that that is a full breakfast, that's all the work is done for you and you can just heat it up and eat, are going to be something that you are very thankful to have. This is one of those situations where like future you is going to thank today you for the work that you're putting in now. And I know your feet are sore and maybe even your ankles are swollen and I know you're tired, but do it now. Even if you have to pull up a chair and do it sitting at your table and assemble these meals that way, you will still be so thankful. And you'll be sitting there late one night, middle of the night feeding, and you'll be like, oh, this is so hard. But at least dinner tomorrow is already done. I'm not joking. Like, taking one thing off your mind when you already have so many changes and like it's just such a hard time. A beautiful time, don't get me wrong. Babies are such a blessing. I mean, I truly believe that, or I wouldn't have had so many. But it is an exhausting time, and there's really nothing that you can do to make certain parts of it easier. Like, I don't have a machine that will change the diapers for you. I don't have somebody else that can come to your house like a little sleep fairy and go in their room at 2 in the morning when they're up. But I do have a way to make meal times easier. I am working on a postpartum freezer meal plan where everything would be available in a PDF. We'd have the shopping list, the prep list, the printable labels, the recipes, all of that. We've got a lot of freezer meal plans like that done already. I don't have one specific to postpartum. So I've been gathering recipes for that because I know what type of things people are requesting during that time of their life. And so I'm gonna compile that together and make that available for you to purchase. But if you can't wait, then you can always check out our other freezer meal plans, or you can check out the Freezer Meals 101 Club, because in there you can create your own meal plans. You can filter, like I was explaining before, you can type something in like kid-friendly and then populate the kid-friendly recipes and make your own meal plan based on that, which is awesome. Other things to keep in mind is that sometimes if you're going to be nursing, you want to stay away from spicy food. So when you're making the meals now, you want to be thinking about future you and the things that you might need to avoid eating. I actually did another video, it was years ago, and if you go check it out, I'll pop a link up there. You'll see that my kitchen cabinets hadn't been painted white yet, and I was a lot newer to making YouTube videos, but I was making meals for my niece and her husband who had had their 4th baby, and I didn't even think about the spicy factor, I think, because one of the things I made them was our Dr. Pepper pulled pork. Now, the funny thing is that that's the recipe that they phoned me and asked me for. That was the one where they were like, you have to share this recipe. This is the best thing we've eaten that you sent. So that was really funny. The tater tot casserole went over super well with their kids. I think I made them the cheesy chicken and bacon tater tot casserole, and it's a slow cooker one. You'll have to check the video out to see for sure, but I'm pretty sure that's what I remember making for them. And so tater tot casserole, we've got 3 or 4 varieties of tater tot casserole recipes, maybe even 5 or 6 to be honest with you. And so you can find those on freezermeals101.com or in the Freezer Meals 101 Club. Those are also great if you've got kids to make ahead. We have another one, tater tot with like beef and veggies, that goes in your slow cooker or in the oven. That's another really good one because it's like an all-in-one meal and everything is done ahead. So lots of options, but it was kind of ironic that I didn't think about the spice thing and then that ended up being their favorite. So you know your situation, You know what your family likes. You're gonna actually be the best person to make your meal plan, which is why the club might be an option that you wanna look into. But we have tons of recipes for you to choose from. You can go and check them out. Check out the other videos for inspiration. And if you want, come on over to our Facebook group. It's free. And everyone in there is delightful, seriously. So that's another place that you can ask your questions and you can get some help and advice. But I really do feel like when it comes to postpartum meal prep, it's a little bit different than just your average meal prep, because you might not be able to stand on your feet for as long. You might not be able to do those full days of assembly. You might have to break it up into smaller parts, and that's okay. It's great, actually. It's fantastic. And any meals that you get made, you'll be so thankful for, and you're further ahead than you were before you started. So don't think that you have to stock your freezer with like 80 meals or have it made for months and months ahead. Anything you get in there is going to be better than nothing, and it's going to be one less day that you have to cook after the baby comes. I hope I've inspired you to give this a try. I'm really excited for you. Congratulations on your new addition. Like I said, babies are always a blessing, and I hope this made it just a little bit easier for you while you make the transition. Happy family expansion and happy cooking.